And we are back with another segment of Just Parlay's NBA Plays, where I'm be providing you all with my NBA plays for that particular day. So our NBA plays for November 10th, 2021. Like I always say, I break down my plays into three different sections, three different categories. You have your definites, your shoulds, and your coulds. Your definites are the games that I think I'm really confident in happening. The events that I'm really confident in happening. My shoulds is things that I think should happen, but I wouldn't call it like a lock per se. And my coulds are kind of like pretty risky bets, shots in the dark, things that I wouldn't say I'm supremely confident about it, but I might see a little loophole, a little glitch in the system. So my plays for November 10th. First thing we want to start off with is my definites, my most confident bets. Today I have no definite bets. So get that out the way really quickly. Now my shoulds, my next set of confident bets. We want to start off with the Minnesota Timberwolves upsetting the Golden State Warriors. Now I do know the Minnesota Timberwolves are on a 5-game losing streak, even though most of those games came with D'Angelo Russell sidelined. And the Golden State Warriors, I believe they're on a 6 or 7 game winning streak they're on a 5-game winning streak right now. And Steph Curry just coming off a fresh 50-piece double-double against his good old friend Trae Young. I have the Minnesota Timberwolves upsetting them. Why? I personally just think the Minnesota Timberwolves, they have the size advantage down low, especially with Karl Anthony Towns and Anthony Edwards, especially if Anthony Edwards decided to put his head down, go to the basket. He's shooting threes. I honestly think that the Minnesota Timberwolves are the more talented team right now than the Golden State Warriors, obviously with Klay Thompson sideline and them pretty much just running with Stephen Curry and Jordan Poole as their main two scorers, along with guys like Andrew Wiggins. I wouldn't necessarily more talented. I wouldn't say it as if like, the Minnesota Timberwolves definitely got the talent advantage, but I think they got the talent edge with their big three of D'Angelo Russell, Karl Anthony Towns, and Anthony Edwards. And I also think D'Lo has a little incentive to play a little bit better. He definitely killed last game against the Memphis Grizzlies, even though they sold the game and ended up losing. But I think that he has a little bit more incentive to play because the Golden State Warriors kind of did D'Angelo Russell dirty. So I think the Timberwolves beat the Golden State Warriors. My next confident pick would go with the Toronto Raptors upsetting the Boston Celtics. I guess the Boston Celtics are the favorites only because they're at home, which is weird because they haven't won a home game this season yet. And the Toronto Raptors are on the road, but they haven't lost a game on the road this season. So it seems to be a little bit weird. Boston Celtics are, off the top of my head, I believe they're 0-3 at home. I gotta check. The Boston Celtics, yes, they are 0-3 at home, and the Toronto Raptors are 4-0 on the road. So I would just go with those betting trends. The Toronto Raptors, they have dropped their last 2 games. And the Boston Celtics dropped their last 1 game. The team that looks like they're in the better shape is the Toronto Raptors. I'll go with them. The Boston Celtics are dealing with injuries. Their second best player, Jaylen Brown, isn't active. That's a huge hit because it's pretty much straight pressure on Jason Tatum. And the last time these two teams met, the Toronto Raptors annihilated them earlier this season. So I think the Toronto Raptors, I won't say that they annihilate them this time, but Fred VanVleet does his thing. Pascal Siakam is in the lineup, I believe. Yeah, he's not injured as I am aware of. Like, as of what I'm aware of, Pascal Siakam isn't injured. I think the Toronto Raptors are the better team right now, especially with the Boston Celtics in turmoil and, Marcus Smart calling out his teammates. I think the Raptors definitely got the edge to straight up win over the Boston Celtics. So my next would come from that Phoenix Suns versus Portland Trailblazers game tonight. Now, the Portland Trailblazers got swept last year by the Phoenix Suns. This year, they ended up actually beating the Phoenix Suns their first matchup of the season. This time around, I think the Phoenix Suns, as they are on a 5-game winning streak, and even without DeAndre Ayton, they're cooking. I think they're hot enough, and they are at home this particular matchup, I believe. So they are at home versus a Portland Trailblazer team that has not won a game on the road. The Portland Trailblazers are 0-5 on the road, and the Phoenix Suns are 4-2 at home. I would definitely continue, like I always say, when you're betting, you definitely want to ride these streaks, may it be hot or cold. So I think that the Phoenix Suns continue their hot ways with that 5-game winning streak, while the Portland Trailblazers, Damian Lillard, he did have a high-scoring night. He did have a high-scoring night last night against the Los Angeles Clippers. However, I wouldn't necessarily consider it an efficient game since he did shoot 4 for 13 from the three-point line. Like, Damian Lillard's shot is clearly still not back yet. And until it gets back, you kind of want to keep betting against it. Chris Paul's diamond up doing his thing. D-Book just had an all-around game last time out. I think the Phoenix Suns got enough to definitely secure this win. They are the better team right now against the Portland Trailblazers that's about 5-6 early in the season. That is continuing to struggle. So those, I'm going to have one more should bet. My apologies. One more should bet. And I believe that the Charlotte Hornets end their 5-game losing streak tonight. Charlotte Hornets are playing the Memphis Grizzlies. Both teams had hot starts, and both teams definitely fizzled out, more so the Charlotte Hornets because they definitely fell off a cliff. They lost their last 5 games. The Memphis Grizzlies are about 6-4, although they did start off like super hot. They definitely fizzled out, lost a lot of steam. They still are 4-1 at home, which definitely makes this game a little bit more interesting, especially considering Ja Morant is still doing Ja Morant kind of thing. Ja Morant is cooking. But the Charlotte Hornets, I think they're the better team, better structured team. They're coming off of a super West Coast trip. They played the Cleveland Cavaliers and then proceeded to play 4 more teams on the West Coast. They played the Sacramento Kings. They played all the teams in LA and got cooked by all the teams in LA. The Sacramento Kings, the Golden State Warriors, the Los Angeles Lakers, and the Los Angeles Clippers lost to all those teams. I think this is their last game of their road trip. I think they end this road trip with at least 1 win. And I believe this win comes against the Memphis Grizzlies tonight. Like I said, they're the better structured team. The only issue is their interior defense. However, it shouldn't be that much of a problem, mainly because Steven Adams is the man up front for the Memphis Grizzlies, and we all saw what he did in the playoffs versus the Houston Rockets. Dude was scared to take advantage of a 6'6" PJ Tucker. So I would go with the Charlotte Hornets as a should. I think that they should beat the Memphis Grizzlies, even though they are the underdog. Now, that was my should. So like I said, I had no definites today. My shoulds were the Wolves, the Toronto Raptors, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Phoenix Suns winning. Now let's get to my coulds, my shots in the dark. You are going out on a limb. But if it hits, you will be doing very well that day. I got the Dallas Mavericks winning tonight. I got them upsetting the Chicago Bulls. This is definitely a super risky bet as you see how great the Chicago Bulls have been playing, but the Dallas Mavericks and Bulls are actually tied in record. This is more of a bet straight up on Luka Doncic, just being Luka Doncic, the baby GOAT, as great as he is, than it is pretty much knocking the Chicago Bulls. The Dallas Mavericks, even with Kristaps Porzingis coming back, have not fallen off. They are winners of 3 straight. The Chicago Bulls are coming off a huge win against the Brooklyn Nets. They were looking at a loss, ended up being down 2 in the fourth quarter against the Brooklyn Nets, KD and James Harden, and ended up winning that game by 23. I turned the TV off, came back. The entire game was completely flipped. You would have thought it was a blowout from the entire time, which was very crazy. So they definitely got that momentum riding, but I think Luka Doncic quells them, silences them because he is Luka Magic. Now, my next could bet would be the Milwaukee Bucks upsetting the New York Knicks. Now, this is a really risky bet because the New York Knicks, especially last season, but even this season too, one of the worst teams to bet against. I don't like the spread bet, but you will always want to favor the New York Knicks on the spread because like they're the best team in the NBA against the spread. I would definitely take the Bucks only because at the end of the day they do have Giannis. And And another caveat, the New York Knicks actually have not been good at home this season, surprisingly. The New York Knicks were one of the best home teams in the league last year. However, for some reason at the Garden, they're subject to losing to teams like the Orlando Magic. And the Cleveland Cavaliers have been hot, but they still lost to the Cleveland Cavaliers despite being the better team at home. This is one of those places where the Knicks are better on the road than they are at home. So I'm also betting against the Knicks on the road right now, at home right now, because it's more of a streaky thing to do. The Milwaukee Bucks also have been really good on the road. They're 1-4 at home, but their road record is 4-2. Anytime you got Giannis playing on the floor, even though they don't have Chris Middleton, they got Drew Holiday back. Drew Holiday loves playing against the Knicks. I think it should definitely make for a good matchup. Last time out, the Milwaukee Bucks ended up going up by 20 early in the first, and then ended up getting killed by 20 points later in the game. So they definitely have motivation to come out and beat the New York Knicks. However, this is definitely a risky bet because at the end of the day, the Knicks are a tough team to bet against because for some reason, even when they lose, they don't really lose by all that much. So that's the Milwaukee Bucks. And my last could bet of the night, and this is a super shot in the dark. I honestly would not even advise this unless you're you're just being really risky. You're being super risky. I might play this. All the other plays for sure. Anytime I give a pick and I give a play, I'm definitely playing that. However, this one is one of those times where I'm on the fence about. I may or may not play it. I got the Orlando Magic upsetting the Brooklyn Nets. Why is that? My reasoning pretty much is that the Orlando Magic, this is one of those games the Brooklyn Nets could slack on. They came out sluggish in the fourth quarter against the red-hot Chicago Bulls. And this is one of those kind of things that could just carry over to the next game. They lost by 25 points in the fourth quarter. It's definitely demoralizing. It's one of those games where you could be like, hey, the Brooklyn Nets should definitely win this game. And they come out thinking they should definitely win because they're playing a horrible team. The Orlando Magic are 3-8. And that's because they got some sneaky wins that they shouldn't have got. They're not very good. However, a guy like Cole Anthony come out with intensity and a guy like James Harden don't care all that much. You'd be surprised what ends up happening. Orlando Magic care a lot. The Brooklyn Nets end up not caring enough. And then they find themselves in a competitive matchup with an insurmountable deficit. So that is my particular take on it. This one is a very risky game because I'm also betting on the fact that the Brooklyn Nets don't care enough about this game to win it. And the Orlando Magic care a lot about the game because they are playing like one of the best teams in the league, the best team in the league, I might say. And like that's enough to make somebody want to beat them, right? They're the best team in the league, so they're definitely the hunted. And you definitely do not want to sleep when your particular prey is after you. So those are my plays for November 10th. JusParlay's NBA plays. Stay tuned.